Ah, we're live. Hello, world. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into today. Welcome to Grimshaws Tavern. This is part of the Pernicious Chronicles series, and today we're going to focus on a little bit of world building. Mainly a period before the Dragon Onslaught. Um, since I'm starting a new campaign on Tuesdays, the goal is to tell this like some of the stories from the original campaign. And one of my players asked me about kingdoms, not kingdoms so much, but more of the military type thing. And so I started thinking about it and in player backgrounds. And when you do a character or a campaign that takes place after like a huge apocalyptic event, apocalypse, you have a huge platform because you have the world before and the world after. So I started thinking about this, and now I have to go back and I have to put, lore and like what the world was like beforehand, which is relatively easy because I already have a base of it on what it is now and how destroyed it is. So, but anyway, so I was playing around with Incarnate, which is this neat little map making tool, which is what I use to do all the world maps and stuff on. And I remember a couple episodes ago that I had forgotten to put in some water sources. So I was going around and playing with that, and it kind of did an overlay of what the world looks like before the Dragon Onslaught. So like the Scorched Veil is not in there anymore, and I took out a few of the other things. So anyway, one of the things I wanted to focus on tonight was houses and kingdoms. More importantly, where the Tuesday campaign called the Antecedents, where they're going to be taking place, which is pretty much the Kingdom of Serenity. Serenity was obviously a kingdom, but it was also a city first. So with it being the largest city on the continent, everything kind of like started to take shape there. And the way I designed this was I kind of split the continent in half. You have the Kingdom of Serenity that takes like the northern half, and then in between that there's a mountain range that goes across, and then below that you have the flatlands, which is the Kingdom of Surat, which are goblins and orcs and all that stuff. And then below that is another mountain range that kind of separates the rest of the world, the southern part of the world. And my thought with that one was it's inhabited, and there are certain civilized parts of it, whereas there was a city of dragons left down there. But now that everything's more wild, because what the players don't know is that civilization has started to rebuild itself shortly after the Dragon Onslaught. It just hasn't made its way to them for the most part. So in this one, I want to focus more on like the Antecedents campaign and the houses that make up this kingdom. I was trying to figure out a good number of how many houses I want to do this, because there's so many different ways you could do this, but I wanted to keep it simple. So I decided to go with like 5 major houses, and it, ironically enough, started reminding me of Game of Thrones, but it is what it is. So the Kingdom of Serenity, I have it currently ruled by a queen, and her name is Cassandra. So it's more of a queendom than a kingdom. And she's from House Sterling. Now, the difference is that this is actually a peaceful kingdom, so to speak. The houses aren't quabbling with one another. I wanted it to be like I wanted it to be like just a completely different setting than what it is from the Antecedents, and I've actually started calling it the Destiny campaign. So in one campaign you have this bright, vibrant world that's full of trade, so the economy is booming, There's populations everywhere, so there's lots of interactions there. There's cities, there's, you know, the magic items. The rations aren't so much of an important thing. So on the Antecedents campaign, you have almost like what you would call a normal Dungeons and Dragons campaign, if anyone is normal. And then in the Destiny campaign, which is the Wednesday campaign, it's more like gritty and anything and everything can kill you. And it's almost like everything is out to get you type thing or eat you. So it's kind of a, you know, it's complete 180. But I still wanted to keep things simple. So with the houses, I decided to make like the northern part mostly farmlands. And one of my characters actually, or one of the new players, one of her characters is a farmer. She comes from like a whole farming background. We have this whole story. It's actually pretty cool. But I decided to do that based on her input, just because she wanted the farming, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, that'd be a great idea to have the houses, kind of like a serfdom type thing going on, but have multiple houses that report to the Queen in Serenity, and then each one of there has their own unique military. So I wanted to go ahead and type these out and move them around on the map and see how it plays out. So the first one I'm going to do is House Sterling. So, oh yeah, the city of Serenity is actually on the west coast, and it's between the mountain range. Actually, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's zoom in a little bit. Maybe, kind of. So it's on the west coast. I'm trying to think of the biggest city you can possibly think of. Serenity is just huge, and it's really what started, like I said, it kick-started the trading and everything on the continent of Avalon, and all the other continents in the world linked to it via ships and all that kind of stuff. So they have, it's like a trading hub. So anything and everything, that's pretty much your entryway into Avalon if you come from another continent. Even like Kalari, which is on the east, would travel all the way around because that's the biggest port, and they wouldn't risk going into any other port. So, House Sterling. One of the things I was thinking about with the houses is they actually each have their own. Obviously, they have the head of the house, but they elect who is actually going to sit in the throne, or who's going to rule the kingdom, because it's still kind of open-ended at the moment. I have Queen Cassandra there, but how long is she going to be there? Is she going to rule till she dies? Is she going to, is it going to be like every 4 years they're going to elect the new one, or is it every 2, or is it every 1? Is it, or do they do something bad? So that, like I said, haven't decided on that one yet. So it could be an uprising, all that kind of stuff, even though it's peaceful. Who knows? So House Sterling, I wanted to keep close to the actual capital city. So let's move it, maybe. Aha, there we go. Okay. So the stretch of land from Serenity, and actually there's 4 major houses in the kingdom, or sorry, 5 major houses in the kingdom, but they're still smaller, like military states. And then I'll get to that in a second, just so we can map out the northern half of the continent. All right, so House Sterling controls all the farmlands in the main road that runs from Serenity to the next major town, which we are going to put on the map somehow, some way. Well, let me zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. Okie dokie. I do want to have like larger towns in between, but I want them to follow kind of like main road trade hub type thing. So let's go. All right. First off, let's go ahead and put all our houses on here. Let's do this. Let's see. We have Sterling, Garneth, put them on there. Next house, Thals. Alora. And last but not least, Bodell. Okay, so now there is one main water source. There's running between three of these houses. So Bodell, Thals. Oops, if I can click on it. Okay, Bodell, Thals, and Alora are gonna have. They're gonna share the same water source. Now I have to put Sterling. I have to figure out something else. They might not have farmland. They might mine the mountains. Maybe they have a pact with the dwarves that live there, or maybe there's gnomes there. Maybe there's kobolds there. I don't know. That's the beauty of world building. You get to do whatever the hell you want. And then Garneth, who is at the north, in between the Hellstorm Highlands and this unnamed mountain chain. They have their own water source, and then maybe they do some other stuff. The beauty of it is, I don't need to have all of that detailed out right now, but I can come up with it on the fly if I need to. So, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. 5 major houses, and they own farmland, and each one of them have their own like houses in between. But these are like the main houses. And okay, so let's do our city states real quick, or military state rather. Where do we want to put? Now, one of the things I actually thought about was what's something different. There's no original ideas left in the world. Let's go ahead and say that out loud. But doesn't mean you can't try. And I've read some fantasy stuff, haven't read a lot of stuff, so I'm pretty sure this idea is out there. I'm pretty sure this idea is out there, but I've never seen it. And I think it's cool. So I'm going to go with it. Down on the southeast, like if you go past the mountain range, just going towards the Crescent Isles, there's a little gap of space before you hit a marsh area and a forest. So in that, I'm actually going to put a small military state of Sumner. If I can click it and put it in there. Sumner. Alright, so we're going to put that there. And that's going to have a ruling lord, and it's going to be mostly military. Probably one of the best militaries in the continent, on the continent. I had to figure out that, so that's something else that we need to get out. Now the Crescent Isles over here to the east, that I have hashed out. That's actually, you can't see it. My map. I can't move the map over. Actually, let's do this. Let's delete this one. Let's go with the screen output. Let's see. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. Okay, perfect. Let's move this. Get it on our map. Alright. That's a little better. Maybe. Hopefully. Okay. So, the Crescent Isles, I have... That's going to take an entire episode by itself, just because it's a lot of different things. But at the same time, it's a one, all packed together. It'll make sense later. But anyway, so it makes sense for actually Sumner to be there, because they protect the coastline from the Crescent Isles. Trust me on that. And then to the south of them, south of Sumner, I'm putting centaurs in that forest. And no one has tried to do this or take over this land because of this. A long time ago, there was I always thought about this and trying to figure out the word. It's not a nation, because a nation is too large. But I just want to say a people, a group of halflings got, I guess you could say, pushed into the forest. But the centaurs came to their aid, and the halflings and the centaurs created this bond. Now, we all know centaurs don't like people to ride on them, but they created this bond together with these halflings, and they allowed them to ride them. So, in this forest, over many decades, you have these centaurs with these halflings on the back, and you could probably fit 1 or 2 halflings, maybe 3, on the back of a centaur, and they've developed their own style of fighting. So if you can just imagine the centaur running at you with either a lance or spear, or maybe he's shooting arrows at you, and then on the back of him you have these halflings that are strapped into their saddle and they're chunking javelins, or they're shooting their bows or crossbows at you. That's a pretty formidable force, in my opinion. So they have their own like a elite fighting force. Then nobody enters that forest for that fear of it, and that's one of the reasons why the Kingdom of Serenity ends right there. Other than the fact that the winds have blown into it and is slowly taking it over, but they defend it very fiercely, and they do it very well. So if the players ever find themselves in this forest, it's going to be interesting to say the least. So anyway, what do we want to do next? So we put our houses in. We know they're farming communities. Let's do some trading outposts. Do we want to put a road? Nah, there's no real reason to put a road there. If you look at the size of the south versus the north, and what's mapped out there, it's kind of funny. It's a big territory. But there's going to be little towns and stuff decked out all through there. So let's do this. Do I want to put a main road through here? I don't see why not. How small can we get this? 1. What does 1 look like? Let's take it from here. Just drag it through. Let's see how this is gonna look. Meh. It really it's got huge. Anyway, I think I'm gonna put another road through here. And these are just your main trade roads. I don't want to say, because there'll be smaller roads and stuff, but I want to link them together at least. Yeah, that'll work. So I just do the main roads that link the houses, sort of. And then there's the ones that go around the lake to Thalsbadel. You know what? Let's do this. Let's take the roads out. I don't like that. There's a road there. I think that's sufficient enough. But this is what I want to do. I kind of want to build maybe the boundaries. Let's go with the boundaries. I just messed up my beach. Alright, let's do that. So, well, hell, I can't even do that, because it's going to make it, there's not many colors I can use. Individual thing to draw this on that, have to do that in something else. Yeah, screw it. Not worried about it. So Garneth will come out pretty much where these tree lines are. And then Thals will take this part, Allura, Sterling, and then Bodell. Bodell's got a lot of forest too. Yeah, Allura can do that, and Sumner starts there. Sumner and probably Allura have a good... that might be a plot point later on. Anyway. Think this out. Uh-oh. Hold that thought. Let's log into here and check something. Maybe I can draw it. Actually, I could probably draw it in roll 20. But first, where is my account? Nope, my profile. Aha. Oh yeah, so another thing that I'm working on right now is a giveaway for everyone. And okay, so the giveaway I'm doing while I'm thinking of a way to figure out this how to map these houses off real quick. This giveaway is going to be 2 of the 5th edition books. So it's going to be the Tales of the Yawning Portal. It's going to be the new one coming out in September, Tomb of Annihilation. So the giveaway is going to run for a while, but it's also going to be a TPC shirt, and then 3 guest spots on the show for either Tuesday, Wednesday games, or a combination, or however you want to do it. And then possibly 2 other t-shirts. It just depends on what I can get my hands on. So it's going to be, to me, it's going to be a big giveaway. And it's going to run for at least probably a month, because with the Tomb of Annihilation, I think, releases on the 17th. And so I won't be able to get my hands on it until then. So then I'll ship it off to, whoever wins. And then we'll go from there. But anyway, so back to the world building. So I think one of the things I'm going to do now is we're going to put some towns in here. So Allura, they're going to have, their main city is actually going to be on this lake. So what do we want to name it? Let's do this. Let's try to find us a name. Nah, not worried about it. I have a book of names somewhere. I can't find it. Oh well. We'll come back to this. So I guess I have the family names. There's 1 military state. Let's talk about the kingdoms. Or not the kingdoms, they're militaries. So Sumner. Sumner has, what do you want to call him? Let's call him, can't really call him Captain, that wouldn't be sufficient. Let's call him Lord. Lord Grommek. G-R-O-M-E-K. Grommek. Yes, let's do that. Let's make this a little smaller, because we're going to keep the notes on here for a minute. Alright. House Allura. What is House Allura's name going to be? Let's go with at this point. I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, Sumner. Let's get back here. What do they specialize in? Keeping the centaurs at bay. That's one. Now, one thing that I haven't talked about in the after the Dragon Onslaught, the Destiny campaign, is the rumors. Like, there's a lot of different rumors and there's a lot of different hearsay about things that are going on. One of them is a zombie horde. And I thought about it, this roaming zombie horde that started in one of these marshes. There's the large marsh that's on the east coast, and then there's the bog, which is pretty much keeping the Kingdom of Serenity from coming down into the south. Before that, it was Rydell Keep, and they would, it was kind of like a Thermopylae type thing, small narrow space, can't get large numbers through, so they were always able to defend it. So, but now it's the bog. The Serenity goblins, they'll come through a little at a time, but they won't send large armies through there because they fear of what's in this bog. So somewhere out there, there's this roaming zombie horde that just kind of passes through, picks up its numbers, and keeps going. And it's gonna have it originate in the like I said, one of the marshes, and it kind of roams through, and then maybe the players come across it at one point. I haven't decided. I don't even know if it's gonna be real yet. I like to throw out the rumors just to throw them off because I think it's coming next. Because you have the air genocide. I threw stuff out about storms and stuff, but nothing ever about the air genocide because they didn't recall it. The dragon orcas, it gets its name by the way it looks, but it doesn't just, it doesn't breathe fire or anything like that. It's just those myths kind of thing. You give it those names and they think, oh no, it's going to be this, but it's not. So those type of things are always fun to do. Let's see. What do we want to do now? Haha. What's up, Randy? Ooh, where's my... Come on. Actually, that's who I need to get on here. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, trying to get one of my players on here. See if he wants to go at this for a second. What? Don't lie to me. He's trying to say he has a girlfriend. Doesn't have a girlfriend. Anyway, you haven't missed anything. You're okay. So anyway, I think one of my favorite things about this up-and-coming Antecedents campaign is going to be the difference between just everything. Even with the Seers Lyceum, it gives you a completely different vantage point from the same world. Like I said, on one hand you have this bright, vibrant world. On the other hand, you have this dark and gritty world. It's the same place. All of your lore is pretty much there. Like, for instance, let's go with, right now we're doing the Antecedents houses. So you have Sterling, Allura, Thals, Bodel, and Garneth. So let's just say that during the Dragon Onslaught, which actually, if you look at the original map of the Dragon Onslaught, where House Garneth is right now, it's called the Scorched Vale. So that means that all of that area just was decimated. So House Garneth might not even exist anymore. Or maybe they moved out, maybe they were able to evacuate, or maybe some of them survived and House Garneth moved into maybe Thal's or Allura's territory. Or they could have taken it over, or they, like I said, Bodel could move down, Sterling could be moved out. It leaves things open. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. Like the Antecedents campaign, they're going to start out as members of the Lyceum. They're going to be sent on this mission to gather these artifacts, and part of it is going to be kind of like a test to get into the Lyceum. So, and with the tiers of Lyceum, you have to have a sponsorship to get to higher levels. So it's all going to play together. But they get to see a different world than what the Destiny campaign gets to see. So, oh yeah, sorry, Randy. I just realized you said ouch to the girlfriend comment. My apologies. But yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be lots more to come. This episode, like I said, it was just kind of, I wanted to look at the north and see what it was going to come out to. See how the houses are going to fall together. Show that it's going to be like more farming than anything. And like I said, it's an ever-changing world, because with Antecedents, I don't want to go into a lot of detail with the world building part of it, because I know a lot of people like to get into details of it. But the thing about them is they're going to be moving throughout time. Not the characters, but the players are going to be taking the roles of different characters. Characters, yes. So what might be set in one time, they might go back 100 years to do a different set of adventures, that things have changed. So for me as a DM, it gives me a lot of room to move things around, or better yet, how things came to be. So like for instance, right now House Sterling's in power and Serenity, but let's say I want the characters to go on an adventure that puts House Sterling into power. So they've seen what the outcome is, but now they can go back and actually tell the story. Or not necessarily rewrite history, but they could also fail. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But who knows? We shall see. Huh. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap that up here. Wasn't much to this episode, and I apologize for that. The main thing is, tomorrow we have Session 0 for the Antecedents campaign. Then Wednesday we have the Destiny campaign. So we have to find out what happens to Ethrin, because he was not looking so well. Tilly's ran off. Hopefully Kree will be back. Hopefully Mina will be back. If not, it's just going to be Bellfire and, who is it? The new one, Arkin, running around. That's going to be interesting. Anyway, the first, that's tomorrow, Session 0, Antecedents campaign. We're going to stream it. We're going to talk about the characters. It's probably going to be more world building, but this right here gives me a basis so I can show them. And they can be like, oh, I'm from this area. And then Wednesday campaign, the 8th is the first real session of the Antecedents campaign, followed by the 9th, which hopefully will be a Destiny campaign, or it might be an all new one. Who knows? They might all die. I don't know. What's your destiny? It's to die. Anyway, hope to see you guys then. And until then, have a good night.